Hello, everybody. We are live. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
Jean and I talked earlier and we decided we were matching clothes. We didn't. We didn't do that. As it turns out, we just both look really excellent in this purpley color. What is it? What is it? Mauve? What is it? Maroon?
Fuchsia? I don't know.
Fuchsia? Okay.
I don't
All right. But my name is Charissa, and I am the founder of Charm City Readers, a Facebook reading community. And I'm here with my friend Jean Burgess, who is now a two-time published author. 2 times. How's it feel?
Amazing. It feels amazing. Yeah.
And you just had, the book launched on the 14th, April 14th, but you just had your party last night, and it looks like it was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a wonderful crowd, and they were embracing me. They were wonderful.
Did they physically embrace you?
Many did. Yeah.
Aww.
I had a lot of friends there.
That's good though. Then you feel the love.
Yeah. It was great.
Well, for those who are joining us, Jean wrote her debut novel. Well, I guess I don't know when you wrote it. It launched last year. Right? So you probably wrote it far before that.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, in 2024 it launched.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm sure you're writing one now, right? Are you
Maybe
writing one now?
I can't wink, but maybe.
Okay, you can't wink? No, I don't think I can do this one. Anyway, so her debut novel is That Summer She Found Her Voice. And the novel that just launched this last week is Navigating Her Next Chapter. But before we get into the book, I like to do a little lightning round. And we've done one already, so I can't go through the fact that you prefer paper books over ebooks. Everybody does. But I thought we would do a New York City lightning round.
All right. Since the book is set in New York City.
It is. Okay. And we're going to get into that.
Yes.
All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is a trick question, actually. Broadway or off-Broadway?
Oh.
So much for lightning.
Yeah. Well, Broadway. We'll go big time.
Say, Broadway is easier because those are the shows but there are lots of lovely things off-Broadway. So that's
fabulous
why it's a trick question.
Too, so.
Orchestra seats or balcony?
Balcony.
See, I was thinking of buying tickets recently and I was wavering. I think balcony too. Matinee or evening show?
Matinee.
I agree. You can be a little cash for a matinee. Okay, pizza, fold or no fold?
Yeah, you gotta fold it.
See, I'm not a folder. Okay, you're a folder.
But if you're a New Yorker,
then you have to fold it. Okay. This one is obvious too because I have a very strong opinion on it. Bagel or croissant?
Well, I'm not a bagel lover, and that makes me not quite a New Yorker.
Gee, and the right answer is bagel.
I'm sorry.
I mean, there's no right answer.
I'm off the show. Well, sorry. Goodbye, everyone. Sorry.
My friends and others may know that I used to work for a bagel shop here in Baltimore, which is Baltimore's best bagels. So I do have a passion for a good bagel. So that's why I said it was a trick question. So,
and I love a chocolate croissant. I am a lover of a chocolate croissant. So
see, you love it so much you pronounce it correctly. The rest of us just say croissant. So say it again. Say it again.
Croissant. I say
yes,
croissant.
So good. Okay. Taxi or subway?
Subway.
I agree.
Because when I lived in New York, I had no money. I was a starving actress, which we can probably talk about. But yeah, so.
Oh, we will. We will talk about that. And Central Park or Bryant Park?
Central Park. So much to do in Central Park. I love Central Park. So
you do Central. I'm gonna go with Bryant because it's just so quaint and it's like big buildings.
It is.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden this little oasis in the middle of it.
I can't
Okay.
disagree. I can't disagree.
It's like you're just walking through New York and then all of a sudden greenery opens up, you know?
Yeah.
So this is the sequel or the second book. I was wondering for those who are joining us, if you could give a summary of kind of the story arc, what the first book is about and how that leads into the second book.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, listeners, if they don't know, I write retro fiction. So my books take place in the 1970s and the 1980s, and the story is about a young woman in her 20s. In the first book, took place in the late 70s, and her name is Margie. She comes from a small town on the eastern shore of Maryland, very isolated. I mean, it's a small town, and so she's kind of naive, isolated upbringing, and so in the first book, she joins a swing band as one does and tours around the country and kind of has finds herself a bit, and the sort of defines herself a bit and finds her voice as her authentic voice as a woman. In this book, she decides to leave that small town and move to where else? New York City. So it's really a changed environment for her, and she kind of learns to navigate that huge city, but also, again, journey of discovery for her. She's in her mid-20s at this point, and she surrounds herself with this menagerie of friends that become her New York family, and they help her kind of on her journey. This time she's sort of navigating a career change. She moves there to become an aspiring writer and make some pivots in that career. So it's kind of a woman's story, but I have a lot of male readers as well, because both books have a lot of musical aspects, music of the period, whether it's late 70s and in this book, early 80s in New York. So there's a lot of punk, new wave kind of
The Ramones.
references. The Ramones and the Beastie Boys.
Yes, they make an appearance.
Yes, they do.
So I remember you said that you had a stint. I think in your bio you said you had a stint as a starving artist. How long were you actually in New York?
I was in New York several times, but in the early 80s for 3 years. And I moved there after a season of summer stock. So I have a theater background. Summer stock up in New England, and a bunch of the actors there said, "Oh, you should move to New York, and you should, if you want some additional training, you should try out for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts." And I was impetuous, and I said, "Sure, I'll do that." So that's what I did, and I actually did get into the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, but I had no money, and I lived on the 6th floor of a walk-up,
so that's real.
Anyway, yes, yeah, that part of Margie's story. So I do this. I pull from my life experience, and then I have my fictional character, but particularly Margie, step into those experiences. So another aspect is, so I started taking acting classes, voice lessons, dance lessons, all in the evening, but I needed to pay the rent. So I had a job as a receptionist at Radio City Music Hall.
So cool.
And Margie also, I figured, well, I'll have her do that too, because I know Radio City Music Hall. I know all the ins and outs, and I thought it would be interesting for the reader to learn really some of the back behind the scenes aspects of that wonderful, wonderful building and institution. And because I loved it, I thought that'd be interesting to write about.
But it was fascinating because as you were talking about it, I'm like, she either did a heck of a lot of research or she knows something that I don't know, right? How the buildings were joined and had different levels, or the floor plans were different.
Yeah. So that's a lot of insider information that you wouldn't get on the tour necessarily. But I also did, I did my research just to be accurate as well. So I always do both, my memories, my experiences, and then some research too.
So what else in the story is real? Like I was gonna look up Silver Star Diner, but I'm like, honestly, it could have been in the 80s and not be called that anymore. So like that's not too valuable.
Yeah. So for New Yorkers, when you move there, your neighborhood is really, think of Seinfeld, think of Friends, their neighborhood. And so that's really kind of an important aspect. And I wanted to build that world in the book. Silver Star Diner is real. In fact, I lived on East 65th Street where Margie lived, in that sixth floor walk up. And on the corner was the diner, and it was called Silver Star. And so I did some research, again, memories, research, and it's still there.
And it's still called Silver Star?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
It's still there. It's still in existence. And it was, it's just typical of a kind of a neighborhood diner. And where one would hang out with your friends and acquaintances. And so it does take a star, it's a star setting in this book, because Margie and her, her menagerie of friends there's a lot of scenes written in the diner. So, yeah.
In the diner. Yeah, for sure. What other places are kind of indicative of your experience? Like St. Patrick's Cathedral, you had that whole beautiful scene where she went in and kind of centered herself.
Yeah. So I wanted to, so I put myself in her mindset and said, what would be important? So, Times Square, Rockefeller Center, St. Patrick's, that's all around where she would be working. And those were places she would explore. And St. Patrick's I just love that cathedral. But there's other churches as well. But I figured I wanted to mention landmarks that the reader would identify. But I also chose a lot of not so famous landmarks as well. So St. Patrick would be one that people would go, oh yeah, I know that, or I've walked past.
What about the clubs? I assume those are real clubs.
Yeah, they're all real. Everyone I mentioned, and they weren't ones I've ever been to. That was a question I got.
You didn't party with Paul Solana?
Well, it was funny. I'm not really into, like Margie discovers, I'm not really a punk new wave. I was a jazz person. So the Blue Note would have been someplace that, would have been a place that I went to for entertainment. Also, of course, I was a theater person, so I would go to the off Broadway places that you mentioned, the ones that we could afford.
Yep, of course.
So when I lived there, but all of those places, what I did was I looked at my timeline, and then I said what clubs would be available and what acts were happening then. And it all kind of, was like a puzzle, putting it together and going, oh, well, the Beastie Boys were playing at CBGB's. So I'll have her get an assignment to go and review that from the Village Voice. Okay. So they're all real. Mm-hmm.
How exciting and or scary and or vulnerable is it to like write about your own experience and then twist it and fictionalize it?
Well,
because it's so much you, but not.
Yeah. In the first book, it was very much that whole tour. I toured with a swing band, and it was all very much really based. The whole book was, and then the first draft, I went, "Oh my God, it's Margie's me." And after I freaked out and put it aside, I went back, and the first revision was no, it's not me. This isn't a memoir. I got to fix that. And so I started I added things like a criminal intrigue with the band leader, and I changed and I added some characters, and I learned a lot about fiction writing, and I learned to change up her story a little bit. So it wasn't me, but that's something I had to learn. This time, while in the beginning, yes, she has a job at Radio City. I had a job at Radio City. Yes, she lives on the 6th floor of a walk-up. I lived on the 6th floor of a walk-up. But all these auxiliary characters are totally made up.
There was no Miguel. You didn't have a Miguel?
I did not have a Miguel.
Oh,
no.
darn.
And her career path with the writing and her aspirations are totally different than mine. So this book is much more fictionalized.
It's interesting what you just said, though, about your revision of the first book, because I was listening to that interview you just did. I can't remember, with the two guys. You just did, like, last week.
The spirit.
I think it was that one, but you had said, like, you wanted to tell the story of your swing band experience, and you played around with how to tell it, right? Is it a short story? Is it a play?
Yeah.
And so you landed a novel.
Yes.
And then you wrote it, and then you were like, wait a minute, too much.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I had to dial it back. I didn't, yeah.
But we wouldn't have known. It could have been all you, and we would have had no idea.
It's right? True, but I was the writer.
That's true. You get to decide all the rules.
Yes. Yeah.
So writing specifically books, because you have written plays, right? You have written curriculum, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
What does writing feel like compared to that? Like, plays are obviously a creative outlet, but is, like, fiction, I don't know, more fun? Is it more therapeutic because you're weaving yourself into it? Like, how does it differ from, your whole career of writing not novels?
Yeah. It is.
Or maybe it's the same, and this is a boring question.
No. It's a good question. It's an excellent question. Well, I write right now. So, right brain is the more creative. And I would definitely say it's challenging that creative part of me, because for so long, and for listeners, I was in academics for 25 years or 23 years. And always writing curriculum, writing academic articles for publication and that sort of thing. And that's very much left brain. And yeah. I also have a nonfiction that's been published as well. So that's a different kind of thinking. And then I started to write plays, and I was just dabbling in that sort of, creative itch, right?
Right.
So this pushes it, writing fiction pushes it even farther into the creative. And I'm very fascinated by that process. So that's an excellent question, really.
You just answered it like an academic. You said, I'm fascinated by the process of creative writing.
I can't help who I am.
No, I love it. It's great.
But I have to shift, because I also right now, having these books published, I'm also put in a position where I do presentations a lot.
Right.
So I have to write those presentations, which swings me back to left brain. So
it must be exhausting. Are you so tired? I mean, really, right? I mean, I guess I'm in marketing, and I do a lot of data. So I guess I'm in, data brain for a while, but I can't turn off the creative brain. Like, I'm always like, oh, that'd be a good punchline, or that'd be a good tagline, or that'd be a good promo, But
marketing does both, because I was in marketing for 10 years too.
See,
so
we're twins.
We are. Look at us.
I know.
But marketing does do both. You do swing back and forth.
Yeah, I guess I just do it like tactically, like in a day, right? Spreadsheet, creative email, like they're minor, where you're doing huge projects, that take days and days of time. I don't know. It's fascinating. Left and right brain.
Yes, it's fascinating.
It is fascinating. One thing, and we mentioned this last time, for those who are watching this is Jean and I, this is our second chat because we talked about her first book last spring. Your story is so approachable. Like, she is so easy, all your characters to like. And it's, I don't want to say it's like easy reading, because that's not what I mean, but like the voice that you use makes it easy to fall into it. You just fall into it instantly, and you're in the story and you're following along. But then you do what you do is you sprinkle these heavy topics, but they're not, I mean, they're heavy in the book, Jean, but they're not distracting. Like, I mean, sexual assault, race, sexual orientation, HIV/AIDS, these are not light topics, but you also don't bog down the reader with the weight of the stress, right? You're kind of dealing with it at the speed that she's dealing with it, right? And so, I don't know, I just find it, I mean, you could have just written about her story and sprinkled like, yeah, and they walked by a protest, but you didn't. You made these integral issues in the story. Like, how hard is it to decide which of those you're going to do, and then to actually insert them in a way that makes the point you're trying to make without completely distracting from her?
Well, thank you for noticing all that.
It was a lot of talking.
But that's really where my process comes in, because I do, and why I like retro fiction, which, by the way, is a genre I completely made up to cover this time period. Because it's not really historical fiction by the purest definition, the 70s and 80s, but it's not contemporary. But I do hope that by doing what you just described, focusing on a few key issues of these periods, that I think these issues are still relevant today in some way, that we can have conversations about them. And I hope that's what folks do, or at least that they think about after you're done reading the book. So in this book, navigating her next chapter, early 80s, so the question, because, I have this researcher's mind, an academic's mind, right, was, well, what was going on in New York in the early 80s? And so I started, researching, reading the New York Times archives articles, and then I would narrow it down to 2 or 3 issues that I thought would be usable. And so it turned out, well, the cocaine crisis.
Yeah.
The cocaine crisis was major in New York at that time. And that's relevant today because, well, fentanyl and what we're dealing with. So, set that aside, potential use. Certainly, this disease, this epidemic, the beginning of an epidemic, which we now know as HIV/AIDS, but didn't have a name at that time. And I had so many questions about that. Well, that is personal to me because I was in theater. I had many gay friends, and I lost many gay friends. And so I thought, well, that's important because today there's so much stigma continuing. So, there's so much happening in the news. And I think that could be relevant to just the whole conversation. And my research was just so interesting on how it just kept getting shoved aside. And I just had questions. What makes an epidemic? How many people have to die before it becomes an epidemic? And we get funding that we need, and just questions. It's driving me nuts. Looking at the past, but thinking about now. And then this crazy protest that I just happened upon, and it was anti-nukes. Now this research was 2 years ago, but wow, is that relevant today? Because we're living in scary times right now. And so how did I know? But I just thought, how could what would Margie think about these things? She comes from this tiny town, isolated town, and now suddenly she's being exposed to these things. Or how could she be exposed to these things? And what would she think? And when she learns about them, or when she is exposed to them, or how could she be? So that's kind of like the cool, challenging puzzle of writing for me. And I love that. And I appreciate very much what you just said, that it's not overbearing, but isn't that how life is? That, sometimes it affects people we know, and sometimes it's just news. And I think that we would pay more attention if it affects people that we know. If
Mhm.
we could think of the news that way, we might have more empathy. We might set aside stigmas. We might go, wow, like, for example, I hate war, uh, just or whatever, rather than it being something way over there. So that's how I do it. I narrow it down to a couple of issues. There's probably other things going on in New York uh, or in the world, but I narrow it down to a couple, so it's not overwhelming and overbearing.
Well, and the way you write too is we're in her head, right? So we're hearing her thoughts and she's processing things. And so she's being introduced to these subjects and we're processing them with her, which is fascinating because I think you're not preaching. You're telling us how she's processing it, and then that makes me then reprocess it, right?
Well, I hope.
I was in the early 80s, I was little. I was born in 77. So I remember HIV/AIDS, but nobody told me, right? I was 6, 7, whatever. So like nobody was like, let me tell you something horrible that's happening in the world. 7-year-old. But growing up, it was this like thing in the background that was kind of terrifying. And so she's learning about it in real time, with real people. And she has to decide if she thinks it's scary and decide if she thinks it's a big deal or being overblown, or right. And we're living that with her, which I think is really neat because it's again her story. So it's not these things happening around her. It's happening to her. I don't know. It's a unique, as a writer, I'm not sure what that's called, but it's a unique experience for me in a book to process the thing through the character every step of the way. Like that was really, really great for me, was just living it through her eyes. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I love the feedback. I appreciate it.
No, good. Well, you know that I love readers. When you're reading this book, everything she's thinking that's like exaggerated is in italics. So she'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Like, and these like dramatic moments. So you can kind of feel the emotions as you read through it, because again, you're processing it in real time with her. So it's beautiful. One of the things I love, obviously, is instead of an actress, you made her a writer. And so she joins a writing group. I was like, where'd you come up with that idea? She gets these gigs covering bands. She ends up, can I say, I'm so afraid of spoilers.
Well, are you going to say how she pivots? I try not to say that, but yeah, I try to, but just that she gets the gig, she gets an internship with an alternative newspaper, and she's covering bands, and she decides, and they're punk bands and they're new wave, and she decides, I don't really like this very much. I really like this kind of music that much. And so she makes a huge pivot in her writing, that takes her, she's still writing, but she's writing something completely different. And that's usually, I kind of leave that as the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But it does take her into a completely different world. She's not going to clubs anymore. She's going into, I kind of like to leave that, but but if you want to talk about it, that's fine.
Now I have a question for you offline about it, because some of the things she wrote were really fascinating, and I was like, is that all you? Did you invent those for the book? So, but we.
Oh, I will. I wrote almost all of those.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like,
and they've actually been produced. So yeah.
Okay. This is a other chat just waiting to happen. Okay, we won't go down that road, though. We want to leave some surprise for the readers. I was thinking, like, how different would it be if she hadn't been a writer? Which we don't need to go down this road too much, but I was like, could Jean have done this if she was a dancer? Or I said accountant, and I'm like, that'd be boring. Who moves to New York to be an accountant? But like, right? Because I mean, it's a creative capital. But a painter, it was sort of just, I was toying around with like where you would have had to have gone if it was another creative outlet that wasn't writing or theater, which is what you know.
Yeah, well, I probably could have, if it was in one of the performing arts, I probably would have felt comfortable. But if it's way out of my wheelhouse, and I know a lot of writers who, they write crime novels and they've never been a
criminal
detective or whatever. I'm just not there yet, I
Yeah.
think, in my writing. But what I do, and it is part of my process, is even with this book, I always, I guess you call it, well, maybe alpha readers or whatever, where I will, or sensitivity readers, sometimes they call it, where I will send a book out or sections out to somebody who is in that field. So even with this book, I would contact like a mental health provider, a drug. There's a situation in the book where someone's addicted to cocaine, because that's a big issue. So I contacted and interviewed someone who works in cocaine addiction, so that I get all the facts right. And they gave me such great feedback that I went back and revised that section, because it's not just the cocaine addict, but it's also the people, how it affects the people around them. So I strengthened that part of the writing. So, I've never been addicted to cocaine, and I don't have anybody in my immediate family.
Well done, Jean. Well done.
Who's addicted to cocaine. So I wanted to get all those facts right. And actually that person gave me some additional resources to read. So, I ventured out of what I know a little bit in my writing, but I'm not ready to write like an accountant.
I don't want to read it though. I mean, that was just what came to mind. No. But I do think as you write more books, and this is like me being, a marketer, but the way that you have her voice, the way what I was saying before, the way that the reader processes things with her, because we're in her head, that would be quite fascinating in like a detective novel, right? Because usually we hear, and Detective Smith he's struggling with the concept, or he can't figure it out, but we're not in their head. And so to have your style of writing be in the head of something that was really traumatic or dramatic, if that even interests you, I think would be really fascinating to read. That's just
well, I mean, because it's written in first person, that's that is the result. But I think that a lot of writers feel that writing in first person is limiting too.
I thought it was fascinating.
But I like it. I mean, personally, I like it, and I push back against that argument. But it does have its limitations, where you could have a narrator describing other things. Like, I can't describe what the other characters are thinking or feeling, other than through dialogue. But I happen to really like writing dialogue, and some writers hate writing dialogue. So, but that's my playwriting background.
Yeah.
So
that's your expertise. So, you can't write a play without dialogue, because it would be very boring. So I actually it was funny, because I was in your first book, I was reliving my move to Baltimore moments, right? Because I'd moved to Baltimore, and I remember seeing things for the first time, obviously not in the 80s, but Vaqueros, whatever. And I have not lived in New York City, but I have had lots of friends who have, so I've spent a lot of time there. And one of my girlfriends, Jody, used to do cabarets, because she was also a starving artist. And I had my navigating her next chapter moment. I think we should have a hashtag, because I actually sang in one of her cabarets.
Oh my goodness.
We did like Andrew Sisters, and I'm a singer, but I'm not professional, right? Like we just went to high school together. So it was me and my friend Jody, a girl named Shoshana, and we did the Andrews sisters in her cabaret. And I was sort of reliving that experience too, because I was like, I don't know, small town girl trying to make it in the big city. You have these little moments of fun. Yeah. So thank you for that. I got to relive it.
Yeah, very fun. That sounds wonderful.
One word. We don't have to talk about her too much, Jean, but Amy, for the love of God. Oh, Amy. So readers, Amy was in the first book and had a bit of a whirlwind situation. And I had asked Jean if she would make an appearance in the second book, and boy, did she. Oh.
Well, and why Amy is back is because in my newsletter, I did a little survey and I said, hey, reader, anybody who read the first book, what characters would you like to see? And so many people wanted to know what happened to Amy.
Yep.
And then a couple of the band members. So that's why
they're in there.
Two of the band members, and I listen to my readers, right? And but I just didn't want, I really pondered, how can I have Amy come back and what happened to her? And so writers sometimes do this exercise where they come up with 5 different scenarios. And so I chose.
Oh no, you did that?
I chose a complicated scenario for Amy.
Yeah, you did. I wanted so much more for her. I
know. I know. But, life is complicated, and sometimes it's not the always happy, all the, loose ends tied up so beautifully. And so that's what I chose. Sorry.
Amy's not going to be in the future books, right? Are we writing her out now?
I don't know.
Oh. Miguel better be in future books. That's all I have to say. So I was wondering if we could play a little game. It's only going to be brief, but I thought it would be fun. So one of the things I really like, again, about your writing is the complete immersion in the time period. And it's not sickly gross, it's the 80s. And so there are lots of 80s things, but it's not dripping 80s where neon everywhere. You have all your little slangs in the, and when I was reading on my Kindle, I'm highlighting all the little slangs, right? So I thought we'd just play a little game where I would say the slang phrase.
Oh boy.
In monotone. And you have to say it the way it might be in the book.
Oh my God.
Margie says it.
Oh my gosh.
You have an acting background, Jean. This should be easy.
I know.
By the way, I think you were talking about it in the other interview, and I was talking to the husband owner at Queen Takes Book, and he was saying, Jean, she was just so animated. I said, well, she has a theater background. He goes, I knew it. So we were talking about your reading skills and how good you are.
Oh boy.
All right.
You're really putting me on the spot.
It's going to be fun. What's the worst you can do? Do it poorly? It's just a phrase. Okay. They're very short. Mom would wig out. You have to do it.
Oh, Mom would wig out.
Perfect. Okay. Take a chill pill.
Take a chill pill.
Check out our new digs.
Yeah. Check out our new digs.
I love this game.
I hate this game. I can't hear you.
I think you just bleeped out. Or you bleeped out on my side. Did you say that sounds radical? Oh, really?
Oh, no, I didn't hear you. That sounds radical. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. I can hear you. Yeah, maybe it's me. Maybe it's my Wi-Fi again.
Okay, so it was the radical one, right?
Yeah, that sounds radical.
That sounds radical. That sounds radical.
Or rad. Did they say rad, or did we say that later?
Oh, well, yeah, she says rad a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How bogus is that?
How How bogus is that? Okay. How bogus is that?
You dig.
Oh, you dig?
Perfect. I love it. Far out.
Far out.
Okay, and my personal favorite, and this is for you and your launch, That's Totally Bitchin'.
That Alyssa would say that, right? It
Yep.
came from Alyssa. That's totally bitchin'.
Yes. Thank you. You did such a nice job. So we're getting close to the end, but like this is a series, right? Can we just this is a series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you know when you wrote the first book it would be a series?
No. So I'll tell you really quickly because I know we're almost over, but I had a friend who's an excellent writer. She writes cozy mystery, and she's part of the Maryland Writers Association. And I asked her to read the book, just give me some feedback, kind of a beta reader. And this was the first book. And she said, I loved the book, but and I should say, so I had an epilogue in the draft that I sent her that kind of tied up all the loose ends, as epilogues tend to do. And so she said, I love the book. I love everything about it, but I hate the ending. And I was like, and she said, you've not left anything open in case you want to write another book. And so I set it aside for a few days and I thought about it. And I was like, well, she's so right. And she's experienced and I should listen to her. So I took out the epilogue and I reworked the ending so that it was a little bit more open-ended. And then I still didn't think about writing a second book for, maybe a month or two. And then it was kind of like, wow, you know what? This could be a second book. And hence it is a second book. And now I have one more book in this series. I think it's just going to be a 3-book series, but you know what? Maybe not. Who knows? But I do think there's one more book.
Real quick, there better be one more because I really want to see where this goes, right?
Yeah.
We've got Mikkel, I won't say anymore, Gal. Amy, if you choose. I mean, then obviously some of the poor choices that Margie made that she then had to fix, right? To get opportunities. And like, if you just ended it there, I don't know, I'd be really sad. Because I got to the end and I'm like, oh, there's a third book.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm working on another one.
I figured you were. Thank you for not disappointing me. So the first book, readers, is really about Margie finding Margie. I always say Margie because I knew a Margie. Sorry, Margie.
That's all right.
She's finding out who she is and learning that she has a voice in this world and that she can speak up, and especially against her father and her dad, right? And bosses and all those things. The second book, I feel like, is her pushing herself outside of any comfort zone she thought she had. So what's the third book? Like, what's the theme of the third book?
Yeah, I'm still kind of, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And that's, like what else does she need? It'll be in her late 20s and into her 30s. So what do we need as women? Yeah. What do we need as women to work on during those times? And there's so many issues that I think I can explore with that. And she's, what she's learned in this book. So, and what she's exploring in this book. And like you said, things she fixed and things she still needs to fix. And so I'm still. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. You haven't asked me or anybody yet who we want to see in the third book from the second book. I'm going to answer that for you, even though you didn't ask me. I think definitely Crystal. I think we need to know more about how that all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Miguel. Those are my top two. I mean, and Amy.
Oh, and Amy, yeah. And Amy.
Amy's the theme to the background of these books, right? Is Amy. Well, thank you for joining us. Where can people find your book? Where can they follow you? Like, give all the deets.
Well, okay. Well, the books are available on any online retailer. So bookshop.org, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any of those online, you'll be able to find them. Jean Burgess author, and you could probably navigate your way to them. And my website is www.jeanburgessauthor.com. So that's easy to find me there. I have a newsletter. You can sign up on any page on my website, and that's a great way for us to stay connected. And I would love to do that. What are
your favorite socials? Like, are you a TikToker?
Oh, yeah. I'm not on TikTok, but I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram. So that's another way to stay connected. I'm also on LinkedIn if you're businessy.
Ooh, I'm on LinkedIn. Did I tag you? I will. Okay. We're streaming to LinkedIn. I stream to LinkedIn. Oh. So we'll have to make sure you share it on your page. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. So that's what I do.
All right. Well, Great. This has been lovely, and I'm only a little concerned that you're not already done with the third book, because this is like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. I have to wait 5 years.
Well, I usually push them out every 2 years. Okay. So I mean, this has been 2 years since the debut, and I try to get this one done in 2 years. I'm published by Apprentice House Press. And I'm just not one of those, I can write 3 books a year. I just can't do that because I'm slow.
Whatever it takes for the craft, right? Whatever it takes. I haven't written any novels, so you are already winning if this was a competition.
Well, it's not, but...
Well, thank you, Jean. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You can find Jean and me and all our other author friends at Charm City Readers. That's on Facebook. I'm dabbling with the idea of putting us on Instagram. Just seems daunting. But come join us. And thank you, Jean. This has been such a joy.
Thank you. You're wonderful.
Bye, everyone.